Welcome to the Sapphic World Book Club officially.
Oh, thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Well,
So excited. I've been looking forward to this.
we've been talking about the woman from the waves, of course, for
Uh-huh.
the last half hour. We could have been. I think we could have talked for 3 hours more. Um, so
That's
that's
wonderful.
I think that's good. That's good. Let's just reiterate the rules. If you have a question for Roslyn, you can. We have a whole list from all the forms you filled in when you signed up for this book club. But if you have another question, ask it to me or to Jade in the chat, which should be working right now. That's great. And should we already do like the giveaway just because we can?
Absolutely.
Okay, can you tell us what we can win?
A signed paperback of The Woman from the Waves with some cool little like bookmarks and stickers and stuff.
Ooh, very nice. Well, and it's easy. All you have to do is uh put a number in the chat. You can chat to Jess for this, and it should be a number between 1 and 50. And the one closest to the one that I wrote down before this whole thing started will win the book. Okay? Anyone clear? So a number 1 to 50, somewhere in between, and send that in the chat to Jess. And then at the end of the Q&A, we will see who is closest. Jess, are you getting numbers? Yes, she says. Okay, good.
Awesome.
Jade, you want to take it away?
Yes, and I'm just going to jump right in. I have this question, somebody else submitted it. Did you ever consider not killing Jonathan, or was he always going to die?
Always.
Heartbreaking.
Always. Well, I will say when I first wrote that scene, because I am a pantser, I'm trying to change my ways, but I am a pantser. When he first showed up, like to help Madeline off the beach, it was as I was writing it that suddenly his story sort of came to me, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is more than just like someone who finds someone on a beach. He's an integral part of the story. And I went back and like reworked and like looked at my whole concept of the book completely differently. And yeah, poor baby was always doomed from that moment forth. I love him. I love Jonathan.
Poor Jonathan.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We did have several questions about the research you did, so you kind of touched on
Uh-huh.
that.
Hmm.
Everybody wants to know what kind of research that you did.
Uh-huh.
Um, and where the idea came from. So if you want to talk about that for a
Mm.
little bit.
So, sure, I'll start with where the idea came from, which was that it was this image that popped into my head. I'd just been reading some fantasy books and been thinking about, like, mythological creatures, which I know a lot of fantasy fans are also really into, like, what's your favorite? Who can pick? And one of them was the Ekushka, although it was the Kapelushti, like the version, I just butchered the pronunciation, from the Isle of Man. And I just found the whole idea of the whole creature so fascinating. And I went and like I learned about the different variations of them, how they have different names, like Kelpies, of course, are the most famous ones, which Hyra does not want to be associated with. And the Ekushka kind of grabbed me because they were, both Scottish and like they were at the extreme end, right? Like they were vicious and the most dangerous of them all. And I'm always drawn to the extremes, which you can probably tell from the length of my books. And so I was just sort of playing around with this in my mind, and I had an idea, like this scene just popped into my head of one of these giant, terrifying monster horses walking through a village, down a village street at night in the lamplight next to the woman that it wanted to eat, that it was obsessed with. And the book just kind of like grew around that scene. I had no idea who they were. I didn't know what they were doing there. I didn't know the motivation. I knew nothing but that, but that's where it started. And as for the research, I went to Orkney. And that was the main reason for the trip to Orkney. It was part of a larger trip that we took to Scotland, but we spent 3 days there and it was really wonderful. We did not get to go to any of the smaller islands like Westay, Westray, Sanday, any Jorsay I made up. Jorsay is not a real island, although you'd think it was if you saw my shirt because my friend Caroline made it for me, so I'm wearing it specially for the club. So we were kind of stuck on mainland, but I did get a really good sense of the countryside. We got to talk to the people, we got to hear the vernacular, we got to hear the accents, like get a sense of like what business was like, just the smallest kind of taste of daily rhythms. And so for me, one thing that was so important was that in a book like this, the setting is almost its own character. And so I was like, I've got to get it right, even though the vast majority of my readers, have probably never been there and probably never will. It's not the most popular tourist destination. Um, I really want to do it justice. Like I love this place. It's truly magical. And I want other people to feel how special it is and how integral, like how I couldn't have set the story just like in any old random island. So I went there. Of course, I also did a lot of reading, researched fairy tales, how to run a farm. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and there is a YouTube channel dedicated mostly to like sheep farming in Scotland, specifically in Orkney, run by this guy named Bruce Cursiter, who has a sheep farm on the mainland. And so, like, you get to see what the farm looks like, how it's laid out, how they move the sheep around, all this other stuff. And am I going on too long? Because I've just got one more thing to talk about.
Oh,
Okay.
Keep going.
And the like most wonderful part, of course, was Fenella, my beta reader. And I don't know, I've told the story before, but I'll just briefly touch on it again, which is that after Carrie and I went to Orkney, we came back, just had talked about what a wonderful place it was, how awesome it was. And like maybe a week after that, I got an email from Fenella McLean, who told me that she and the Ladysmith Sapphic Book Club had just read The X Ingredient and they really enjoyed it in Orkney. And so in Orkney, while I was there, an Orcadian Sapphic book club was reading one of my books. And I was like, you know what? I kind of do believe in signs from the universe. And I think that maybe this book needs to be written like this is some kind of encouragement. So I had a beta reader who lived there and who could give me feedback on all of the local stuff and give me corrections. And she also, obviously, beyond that, had some really good insights into the book and the characters and all those other things. But yeah, it all kind of came together from a wide variety of sources.
so the great mare was with you.
Clearly,
Clearly.
she's a little scary. I'm not sure how I feel about that, actually.
Well, so okay, the story, so that's the whole thing. But then you have this freaking big, giant, creepy horse walking next to a human. How did
Uh-huh.
the characters develop from that? How did you come up with a nun and then Hyra?
So gosh, it's so hard to retrace. Part of it is that I have a head like a sieve. And if I try to remember the idea that I had 5 minutes ago, it might be there and it might not. And the idea that I had like 3 years ago, we'll see. I'll do my best. But Hyra just kind of came out of the ground fully formed, right? Like I wanted a character like who was so just confident and like full of swagger and just like, well, of course I can do it because I want to do it. Why not? But also with this kind of appealing innocence because she doesn't know anything, right? Like, and she's just determined to do her best and thinks her best is just as good as it gets, but also she's so out of step with so many critical things. And her physicality, like I just always knew she's a giant ocean horse. It's going to translate into an impressive physique, long black hair for a long black mane, that kind of thing. And as for Madeline, when I grew up, I had the misfortune of watching The Trouble with Angels at a formative age, which is set in a girls' convent school in the 1960s. And I was not raised Catholic. I instantly fell in love with the idea of being a nun. It seemed like the best thing ever. And, I was just a little baby. I had no idea that I was a little baby lesbian and that the reason I wanted to do this turns out to be kind of the reason Madeline wants to do this, right? Which is you get to live in community with other women in a very intimate and personal way. And there's no men and there's no kids, no expectation of that kind of life. But gee, maybe I just, I did not spend 2 seconds thinking about why I wanted it, just that it seemed so awesome. And so as I grew up, of course, and came out, I had reason to look back on that. And I heard the same was true of a lot of other Sapphic women who were just like, yeah, when I was a kid, I thought about being a nun for exactly those reasons. And I was like, this is not like an isolated, weird experience I had. But, my kind of lifelong fascination with what draws people to a consecrated life, which I know many people obviously aren't doing it to escape anything. They're doing out of, genuine devotion and a calling to that life. I don't know. I just found the whole concept so fascinating, especially in a story that's about like being completely jarred out of your belief system, right? Like if Madeline had been, oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like an ordinary career. Like, she worked at an insurance office and she was on vacation in Orkney and she ran into the great mayor. Like that's nowhere near the same as a former nun meeting, a nature spirit, something like a deity that's completely beyond her experience. So I loved just the huge dramatic tension that I could pull out of that, all of the conflict and all of the kind of, internal and external, all of that stuff.
Well, we've been talking about in the book club about Hyra, and there was
Uh-huh.
a discussion about, I mean, your other books and your love of Ice Queens.
Mhm.
And did you intend Hyra to be an Ice Queen?
Oh no, no, she was never meant to do that. I mean, I guess I know that like for Hotel Queens, Lee Winter kind of coined the term Fire Queen, which is just like Hyra is just over the top, whatever she wants, she's gonna try to get it, while also trying to figure out what it means to be a good person because suddenly she wants to be a good person and like what's up with that. An Ice Queen, I think, in some ways is kind of a human construct. And what was fun about writing Hyra is that she's not human. She's an ocean predator who acts out of kind of raw instinct and has to sort of shape herself into this completely new world and wrap her mind around human norms in a way that she just literally was not born to do. So no, I would say she's not icy at all. I don't. She comes from cold water, but I think that that's about the coldest thing that there is about Hyra, in my opinion. I'm just the writer. I don't. It's up to you.
Jade?
On that note, what is something as you were writing writing these characters that surprised you about them, like that you learned about these
Mm.
characters as you wrote it?
Mm. Let's see. Madeline was more of a mystery to me than Hyra. Hyra was pretty easy from the go. Like she was just a joy and a pleasure to write. And Madeline, like many, many characters who have a lot of walls, the first person who has to break through those is the writer. And that can be both an incredibly frustrating and an incredibly rewarding process. So with Madeline, I don't know it's that she surprised me. It's just that as I wrote, and then like with every rewrite, it was like, let me get in. Come on, let me in. What do you want? What's your deal? And when I finally cracked her open and just saw this kind of vulnerability and pain, but just this immense capacity for like passion and love that she denied herself her whole life. I mean, it really, really was just kind of like, oh, finally, thank you. And when I kind of figured her out and I really got in her head and I was able to find her story, um, that was very, very rewarding for me.
Um, what is it that you love most about writing like fantasy or romantasy? I know
Mm.
you've um
Mhm.
written a lot of really different books, different
Mhm.
from each other. Um, is fantasy or romantasy something that you think you'll do more of? Do you think you'll do
Yeah.
something different? What are you thinking?
My next, yeah, my next project that I'm actually working on right now is romantasy. It's high fantasy, like it's set in a totally different magical world, whereas of course the Woman from the Waves is set in ours. But yeah, I love it. The Lesbian Review is actually doing an event on genre fiction on September 27th, and I'm going to be there to talk about, what's so great about fantasy and romantasy and writing it. Um, but yeah, I'm pulled in all different directions. I love writing almost every genre, never done like horror or anything like that. But there is something appealing about the fantastic in which you have to create your own rules and operate within them and like create your own logic and not deviate because people will say, oh, it's make believe. The writer can do anything she wants. Well, no, no, you can't. If you create the world, you got to live in the world. But that said, you do get to create the world and the rules are your own and you could make it weird. And I love making stuff weird. It's like if I can make it weird, it's going to be weird. Um, and I just really leaned into coming up with like within the scope of this world, what are some details? Like I still remember I was sitting in my office at work and I suddenly thought, Hyra would think that like whale mating songs were sexy, wouldn't she? And I was like, that could go, that's going in. Why not? That's a detail from this world that I could not put into any other story I would ever write. It's going in.
I definitely got lots of laughs out of that one, so I'm glad it made the cut. I'm glad it made the cut.
And also
Um,
and also orcas being very friendly, so why not ask just a whale to spit you out?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
hilarious.
Hyra's literal reading of the Bible where she's like, this is also weird. This is
Yeah.
really weird. And I appreciated. I enjoyed that about
yeah,
her.
Yeah.
yeah. Um, just as a quick aside before we get carried away with time, will there ever be justice for Cranley?
No, he's dead.
For the record, that question was submitted. That did not even come from me. I just made sure it got asked.
What is justice? What would justice for a dead bug look like? I want to put that out there. Not a rhetorical question.
I mean, listen, you
You
like to write fantasy, there could be an afterlife.
That's true. Cranley could be a walk-on character. I'll commission like more Lily fan art, and
like on the
Cranley will be
shoulder
like,
of the
be
great
there.
mare.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, fair. And
A place
someone
of honor.
someone sent me a picture of a beautiful Cranley tattoo that they got a few years ago. Someone sent me a picture of a beautiful kitten that they got that they named Cranley. So I think justice for Cranley does exist. Cranley lives on. People talk about him. People, remember him. We should all be as lucky as Cranley after we die.
Fine. I'll
Think
give
of
you
it
that
that
one.
Fine. I have I'm mindful of the time. We have a few more minutes, but are you okay if we go a little bit over because we have a lot of
way.
questions?
Oh yeah, 100%. This is great. And I talk a lot. Sorry.
Oh, that's great. I mean, we want to hear from you, so yay. I have a question here that says, why did you turn Hyra into a human? Were you always going to do that? Is it yeah, what was the idea behind that?
So I actually gave a lot of thought to that. One of my ideas was like, well, usually in these stories, a la The Little Mermaid, which I know there's comparisons to that as well, the monster becomes human or the monster dies, right?
Mhm.
Like those are traditionally the two options. And so I did toy around with doing something different. Like, what if Hyra does become a storm horse? And then what happens to Madeline? Oh, maybe Madeline becomes a storm horse. Like maybe everybody becomes a magical creature. And I totally flip the dynamic on its head. And I do this really interesting thing, but it wasn't in the end what I was interested in doing, because one of the things that the book wants to look at is like, okay, yeah, but what does it mean to like live in this world and suffer as a human in this world and like find love and make connections and just have to live in a place that doesn't feel like it was designed for you, which is something I feel pretty keenly as a neurodivergent person. I don't get to opt out, right? And one thing that I thought of, because of course the witch does not give Hyra the option to become human, right? Like she doesn't say, if you want, I'll make you a human and you can go save your woman. She's like, you belong to the sky, you belong to the earth. Bye, so long. And I was asking myself, is that a little less romantic? Wouldn't it be more romantic if Hyra chose to be human? But none of us chooses to be human. Like none of us got permission, nobody asked our permission to be born or to exist or anything like that. And again, like for me, that's what it came down to as one of the most quintessential human experiences, is that you kind of got to do it. And so for me, that was where Hyra's path inevitably took her. Plus the fact that like, even if she were a storm horse, being an Akushka, like especially a female one, still kind of sucks. And she, in living in the world as I wrote, I saw her really come so much to care for Jonathan, and to watch how humans interacted and think, wow, they can be awful, but they really like each other. They can create, connections and do all these things that, my kind doesn't do. I would like that. And so she was drawn to humanity, and that's where I'd let the story go. Yeah.
A practical thing. Is this going to be an audiobook? And when?
Yes. When, I don't know, but I have signed the contract with Tantor. So yeah, it's in motion. Right now they're vetting narrators. So
Okay, so you don't know
I don't
who's gonna
no, not
who's gonna
yet. They're
attempt an Orkney accent.
Yeah, I know. I have been told that I will get to choose from different options. One thing, and I don't, I don't necessarily want to take up the book club's time with this, but if anybody has any feedback, if you ever want to DM me or email me or anything, one thing I've been very interested to know is whether a majority of readers would prefer, for example, a Scottish narrator, which is sort of like the choice of my heart, who also does an American accent, or would you rather the book be largely done by an American narrator who does, Scottish accents for those parts? And again, my heart leads me to a Scottish narrator because it's such a Scottish book. But I also know that some people just like American accents better, and Madeline is American. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Be honest, no judgment. Tell me.
As a
Yeah.
European, please Scottish.
Okay.
Or,
Uh-oh.
well, a Scottish that is understandable because real Scottish is not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, no. Well, there are a couple of wonderful Scottish narrators out there who have done Sapphic work, or at least, and some of them have done romance, and I've heard different variances, and some of them make it extremely parsable, right? Like you can hear it.
right.
It's like
Yeah.
they do voice work in a variety of genres, and they do British accents, they do all kinds of accents, so they can soften it up. The really good ones can.
Okay, well, cool then. Um, Currently, the discussion is going on in the chat. I have justice for a dead bug evolving as a higher form of protein, which is part of some new plant species, says Anna. I think that
Sure.
is wow.
Yeah. Let him live on. That's right. He can Cranlius arbusicus. I don't know how you name plants. I just made that up.
And a baby Cranley like a baby Groot, says Tressa.
Aw, that'd
Aw.
be adorable. Any artists in here, draw your visions, send them to me. I would love to see it.
That's cute. Let's see. Were there any edits either during drafting or before publication to the fight scenes between Hyra and her brother that didn't make it into the final book? Too bad.
Actually, not really. The first scene, actually, the fight scene between Beok and Asgal and Hyra, I ended up expanding upon because the first time I wrote it, it was really kind of perfunctory, and I didn't get as much into like the emotional and physical details. I think because that kind of scene is incredibly painful to write. And I had to get some distance to it and then go back and be like, actually, it needs to hurt more. And it needs to be more visceral and more dangerous and more immediate. So no, nothing got cut, but some stuff got added.
And what about Ember says two narrators, one for Madeline, one for Hyra. So
Would love, too expensive. Mm. Almost certainly there's no, yeah.
too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And about the storyline of Jonathan and Ashgal. Is it Ashgal? Ashgal.
I believe Asgal, but
Ashgal. Okay.
Yeah, a Scottish narrator would know. Hey, there we go.
So would you I want to read that book.
Repeat the book about what again? I'm sorry.
Asgal and Jonathan. Or at least something about being like the great queer
Yeah.
story.
I have been asked if I would write a story about Jonathan and Asgal. I would absolutely consider it for bonus content. One reason that I wonder about it is I'm like, it would be so sad. And so I think if readers are willing to go into it knowing that I'm not going to rewrite it and give Jonathan and Asgal a happy ending, sure. I would, if I wrote anything, it would, probably be like the story of their summer together. That might be interesting. I have joked that I would love to write a funny AU where Hyra does become human, but Jonathan and Asgal do not die. And Asgal ends up like moving in with all four, and they all four live together in this kind of horrible sitcom situation, and they have to make the best of it.
And then sister and brother are still
trying to kill each other constantly. Yeah. Madeline and Jonathan are just like, oh God, our spouses are the worst.
Did Hyra's brother always hate her from the beginning, or was there even a little love he once had for her?
I think that, well, Ekushka don't necessarily experience love in the same way that human beings do. I think that there are biological bonds of loyalty, and again, love for them is consumption. In a way that I think nobody here would say was healthy or good. I think that Asgal's I don't know that I would say he hates her. I think his resentment and jealousy is what he primarily feels, in that like she's better at, hunting and fighting. Like she does, like Hyra doesn't inhabit her assigned gender role, which is another thing that I really liked about her. And Asgal, like, he's supposed to become a storm horse and he fails. And he sees his sister, wanting this dream, the one dream that he ever had that he couldn't accomplish. And I think on some level, he knows that if she were allowed to, Hyra would absolutely be able to do it, you know, no problem, except for the whole Meline situation, which is very different. But yeah, just his resentment that he failed and that Hyra's good at the stuff that he's supposed to be good at. But as for Asgal, as I think with most people, his loathing of her is really entirely based on his loathing of himself. And it has nothing to do with who Hyra is as a person or a horse.
Do you have like a favorite quote from the book? It's long. There's lots of them, but do you have any favorites?
So my friend's favorite is definitely "Hello, horse" when Madeline's trying to rescue Hyra from the pier. I do have a weakness for the Great Mare's speech when she answers Madeline's question without really answering it. Something moves the earth and stars, and it has no name, and it has all names. That just came to me. Like I didn't plan that out in advance. I just wrote and let whatever happened happen. I did like the line that I wrote where Madeline thinks that she's not ready to talk to Jonathan about what she's learned about her sexuality, where it's just like the revelation was too new, too raw to sear like bloody meat on someone else's fire. And the irony, of course, is that Jonathan would be the one person who would really understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I have another side quest question. This did not come from me again. But apparently we really need to know why Vivian Carlisle doesn't like yellow.
That is you're going to find out in the short story that's coming out in the next Ilva collection in October. I actually revealed that mystery, so I can't tell you. Can't tell you now.
Right.
Can't tell you.
Well, I'll tie it back to Hyra now then. Because someone asked on the forums, if Hyra could meet any of your other characters, who would she get along with and who?
Oh man. I think that Hyra would not be aware that she wasn't getting along with someone. I think she would just assume everything was going just fine. So the character who would like her the most, I could see Laurie from the X Ingredient kind of vibing with Hyra a bit. I don't know. I feel like that would go well. I don't think that the Ice Queen characters would like her very much because she wouldn't take them seriously at all. I think Jules wouldn't really know what to do. I don't know. I feel like Laurie's the one. Ari actually, I think she'd get along great with Ari. Now that I think about it, I think she and Ari would get along like a house on fire. I really do. Yeah. That's my answer.
I've got a fun one. If you could be any of your characters for a day, who would you be?
Oh, I'd be Mir. Just for one day. I'd probably destroy the Empire by accident, but I would want to know what it's like to be someone my second choice would be Hyra, because I think it would be so fun to be just for one day like someone with that kind of like just boundless confidence that just so clearly goes into arrogance, but also that they're as good at things as they think they are. Right. So I think that like that kind of character would just be so fun. I don't think it would be good for me to be like that. But I think it would be really fun to try it on for one day.
Yeah. Caroline, go ahead.
Is there I want to talk about Meline because we're talking about Hyra a little bit, but can you explain a little bit more about her and her the quest between, well, how she gets where she ends up?
How she gets where she ends, like from the beginning to the end of the book?
Yeah, like the whole religion. I mean, you can see her as a nun, and you always feel a little bit like she's not really supposed to be there, especially when she talks to the two girls, about.
Yeah.
And then
she's there for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, but then waiting like 5 years to like save up every penny to go find an angel. That's a whole
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah, that's
How does that work?
yeah. Well, that's not. I think that that's one of the most interesting parts of Madeline's character to me is because on the surface, she just comes off as this very practical, sensible woman who would never go off and do anything as just batshit as that. But she has this deep fire and this deep passion. She's so. My favorite thing about Madeline is her courage.
Mhm.
Um, and I think in that way, she and Hyra are a good match, which is just when you get right down to it, they are willing to do anything to figure out, like for Madeline, the thing that drives her the most is this mystery. And she has this idea that's kind of mistaken, but kind of not, that once she figures out the angel thing, everything in her life is going to make sense and it's fine. And Hyra has the idea once she eats Madeline, everything's going to make sense and it's going to be fine. And of course, neither of those things is true. But that's one way that they are alike, which is that they'll just do stuff that anyone else would say, no, what? That's wild. What are you doing? But it's the only thing that they can do. So, yeah, I think for Madeline, that's what lies beneath her kind of rational, reasonable, normal person exterior is just this kernel of like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
I'm gonna do it. Well, for me, it was also that she kind of not she wasn't really scared about of Hyra somehow. I mean, people say she's weird, and she was like, what's up with you?
Um,
She
you
thought
mean
she
like
was
scared?
rude and stuff like that. She thought she was rude
Uh-huh.
and she didn't really like her, but she kind of drawn to her and
Uh-huh.
but she's not a pushover. Because
Yeah, no.
it would be like, okay, you're mine.
Uh-huh. Well, Hyra, like before before Hyra comes out as an Akushka, her little coming out scene, she is like, she'll grab Madeline physically and
Mhm.
engage with her. But I don't, unless I'm forgetting my own book, I don't think that there's a scene where she's just like, "You're mine." She's just like,
All
"You're
in
the
her
answer to my
head.
question." Yeah.
But it's like a whole energy. I mean, her energy is
Uh-huh.
like,
Oh yeah.
I'm the biggest, I'm the strongest.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
you can resist all you want, but you're mine.
It's me.
It's
Yeah.
me.
Well, I think, and on some level, that's also kind of a fantasy, right? Like a sort of a, the big, strong, sexy lady who swoops in and is like, "You're mine, and I'm going to take care of everything." And I'm going to have. And I love it. So, and I think on some level, Madeline loves it too, just because like she has had to live such a quiet, contained, reasonable life with people around her. The nuns all dressed the same. They ate the same thing every day. They had the same routine. Then she goes and she's just, kind of an ordinary school teacher in an ordinary town. And she's just so constrained and so boxed in. And here is this person who just seems kind of weird, but also really hot. And I don't know, she's just Madeline is so turned inside out and so confused that this is just sort of all of a piece of it, right? Like I'm here to figure this out, but no, she's not afraid of Hyra. I don't think anything would have worked if she were afraid of Hyra. Um, she can't be, right? She has to be drawn to Hyra, even though Hyra is just this kind of very strange person. And I think part of it is that Hyra is so totally beyond her own experience, where she's like, just it's magnetic. And there is an element that's sort of, human attraction between people. There is like a point where you're like, I can't really explain why. I don't know why I'm attracted to this person. I can name their qualities, but I can't say exactly what it is about the spark of this person that calls to me in a way that other cool people don't. And in the book, I think there's also that element of magic, right? They do have that bond that was forged between Ekushka and human when they saved each other's lives. So it's all mixed in there. I don't have like one straightforward answer for that.
Well, this book does feel very different from any other book, Jazz writes. Did it feel different when you wrote it?
You mean from any of my other books?
Hmm.
Or just, yeah, it did. Yeah, I knew going into it that this was going to be a totally different venture because, I mean, it is age gap, but not like the normal kind of age gap. And, there was no Ice Queen. It wasn't set in the contemporary world. Like it was long, it was weird, their mythology, all this other stuff. So yeah, it did feel different while I was writing it. It also felt so like refreshing and just I felt like I was just leaning into this strange story that began to obsess me and really picking it apart and seeing what it was about. And many people here will know that my previous books were all based on fan fiction. Um, the X ingredient was largely new material. I didn't keep a lot of the original fic, but it still started off as fic. And this book was just brand new, start to finish. And so that was also this really kind of welcome change to me. Just starting fresh.
Is there any genre that you would not try to write? Or that you really want to?
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, that's funny. I was going to say I don't know that I'd be a good mystery writer, but I am incorporating an element of a mystery subplot in the fantasy that I'm writing right now. So maybe I can't even say that. I want to say horror because I can't read horror, but I also think I'd probably be pretty good at writing it. So never say never.
Well,
I guess maybe not. Hmm?
like the fight scene and the shark teeth and the hides being torn.
Yeah, and the witch and
So
all that
you
stuff.
could
I do
do
like
it.
writing fairy stuff. I just can't read it. I guess I would say like currently I'm not all that drawn to trying to write literary fiction. I do tend to stay within genre fiction. I'll go with that.
Okay. Um, I just want to be mindful of the time. It's 7 after. Do you have time for just a couple more questions?
Absolutely. I'm having a great time if y'all are.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got an interesting question here. I know you mentioned that you are kind of adjusting your writing style, I guess. And Anna asked, when you're conceptualizing, do you focus on the story itself, or do you use any special storytelling techniques from the beginning?
Um, can you explain a little bit more, Anna, about what you mean by like storytelling techniques?
I think maybe like, do you use any like writing tools in your process, or are you just
Oh,
following like your
okay.
muse when you're writing?
A little bit of both. I will say I don't, I'm not turning this into a product endorsement, but for The Woman from the Waves and for my current book, I am using Scrivener. And I find that very helpful because there's sections where I can outline, sections where I can just like leave brainstorming, like, weird ideas as they occur to me, and then sections where I can actually write the book like in a manuscript. And so that's a really good tool that I use because it just kind of lets me go all over the place. In The Woman from the Waves, I literally used it to drag one chapter up earlier in the book by pointing and clicking because I realized it needed to go somewhere else. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but just something that allows me both freedom and organization because it's so easy for me to forget things and lose track of them that I really do need something to contain it all, even when I am pantsing my way through.
Are you a pantser?
I have historically been, and I always vow this time it's going to be different, and this time it will be. It will be. I'm outlining. I've got like an outline.
There's an outline and an outline. And
There's character notes, there's setting sketches, there's a whole thing about all my research, all that other stuff. Just because I learned like pantsing the woman from the waves was agony, y'all. Like every time I was like, I don't know, this book is big and like and it's set in our world. And I was like, if I want to write fantasy set in another world, I cannot purely pants this. I can leave room for innovation. I can accept that this outline is going to go off the rails within 5 words, but I need to have more structure than I traditionally have.
Anna says that wasn't exactly what I meant. I actually meant if she plans her cliffhangers at specific times, like the
Oh,
80%,
Oh,
80% breakups thing.
mm, no, I do think that I think we can think of them as formula, right? Like, the three-quarters breakup or the darkest point, which is what happens in The Woman from the Waves. Like, that's when Asgal shows up and everything goes to hell. Um, I think that that's a formula for like a reason, which is that not just that people have come to expect it, but by that point in the book, like you've been holding your breath, right? Like, this is all going to go wrong. This is going to go so wrong. This is going to be so bad. And I don't know. For me, pacing has always been kind of instinctive. And I just have a sense where it's like, okay, now I'm getting kind of bored. So that means the reader's kind of bored. This is where this thing needs to happen. I have ideas in the shower and I'm like, oh, it needs to go in that chapter, right? Like it just kind of occurs to me. This is why I'm a pantser.
I got a question about the cover.
Yeah.
They wanted to know why you decided to have a cover that was so different from the ones you've had before, and that they
Mhm.
loved it. So they wanted to hear about that.
Thank you. Well, my publisher, although they allowed me plenty of input, but my publisher did design the previous covers, and this was one that I had total control over. I loved the art of Sid Mills, who did the cover art for Tamara Jaray's wonderful book, also a romantasy, The Fall That Saved Us, one of my favorite covers of all time. And I was like, you know what? I would love to work with Sid. And I reached out to her and I wrote about the process in actually a former newsletter that I sent out. But one thing that I wanted, I was like, I want a clinch cover. I want like women embracing and holding each other and looking into each other's eyes like old school style, like bring it back. Um, I'm going to be blunt. Like I wanted a cover where you could look at it and be like, oh, this is a book where women are going to fuck each other. And I'm not embarrassed about that. Right. And it delights me as much as I love all kinds of illustrated covers. There's just, so many wonderful ones out there. But I do think we are seeing a move towards more clinch covers. You are seeing more women like embracing and, snuggling and looking to each other's like actually touching, maybe even kissing. And yeah, I just thought Sid's vibe was so good for fantasy, her use of light and drama and, glowing things and all of that. And the way that like she could convey emotion and passion. I don't know, it felt like it all came together for me. And I was like, maybe somebody's going to think it's like, kind of cheesy old school romance. Oh, well, it is. That's what I love about it. I loved romance growing up, y'all. I loved the clinch covers. I was so sad when I saw that we weren't doing them. So bring them back.
I grew up seeing my mom's bookshelves lined with like classic
Mhm.
Harlequin and whatever romance books, and
Mhm.
so I love it. It feels, even though
Uh-huh.
I wasn't reading them at that time when I was
Mhm.
growing up, it feels nostalgic to me in that way too.
Yeah, and I didn't read a lot of the historical romance bodice rippers when I was growing up because my mother didn't let me. But like, I would always stare, and you know why, at the woman on the cover who was busted out of the corset. And it's got such a special place in my little baby gay heart.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a remark from Tubash as well. Thanks to this book, the word nightmare has been permanently redefined for me. So thanks.
Happy to do it.
Okay, I think we should like wrap it up a little bit because people have, well, I have nights, but more people have
Mhm.
days to go back to. Um,
Giveaway.
yes, also, but I also want to ask Roslyn, what's next? Really
Mm.
short.
High fantasy, think The Jasmine Throne meets Fingersmith by Sarah Waters with extra spice.
Well, okay, I'm there for it. When, where, when, how?
Pre-ordered.
Pre-order, when?
Thank you. Coming to you sometime in 2026. Don't
Oh,
know when
well,
exactly, but I'm hustling on it.
well, hustle, go hustle.
Yeah.
Um,
Did I mention I have an outline? It's practically done.
oh yeah, a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, giveaway. Jess, I will reveal my number and you can tell me which one, who won, who won, who won. This is my number. Can you see it? 28.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got a winner. That is Rach, who got 27.
Ooh, very close, Rach.
Nice.
Okay.
Yay.
I will be in contact with you, Rach, and then I will link you to Rosalind so you can um work all the logistics.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Well, I think people will know where to find you, Rosalind, but just really quick, what's the quickest way to see what you're up to?
All of my socials are the same handle. It's at Writing Roslyn.
Great. And your own
Right.
website, of course.
Yeah, RoslynSinclair.com. We're gonna overhaul that pretty soon, but that's still what it is.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you very much for joining us. The Q&A.
Thank you for having me. This was delightful. I really had a good time.
Great. Thank you for your time, everyone that's here. Thank you for your brilliant questions. And we
And thank
hope
you for reading my book. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Yay! And thank you. And Jade, can you tell us what's next for the Sapphic World Book Club? And what
Yes.
time, what date?
I can do that.
Which one's not?
We
Sorry.
we've got Virginia Black's new one in
Sentient.
Indian, thank you, on September 20th. So we will start circulating ads for that, and we hope to see you all there.
Great.
Amazing.
Thank you. Have a great day. Have a
Bye.
great night. See you
Bye.
next time. Bye.